All right, I'd like to call the meeting of the Freetown Cable Franchise Agreement Negotiating Committee to order. The three appointees are here, Dan Murphy, Sean Bajork, and myself, Joyce Palmer Fortune. We also have the FCAT General Manager and a couple of wonderful town admins, Becky and Pete. We're waiting on Bill. Now I've done this for the last two cycles of, we've only ever had three cycles of Comcast contracts. So that's, I'm the institutional memory here, apparently,
Also, how many members how we use each one?
10 years.
That's why, wow.
So we negotiated, we'll hold for 10 years. Just for some history, in case that's important, John will know this. When they first came through in the early to mid 90s and cable was coming up, we got, I don't know, 2, 3 different cable companies wanted to cable our town. There were a whole bunch of different companies. One way or another, we ended up with Comcast. And then for the second round, there is nobody else interested because by then the monopoly is established.
That's solidified.
Yes, it was solidified by then. Basically, while we technically could go out to bid, but ask anybody else to do our cable,
Okay.
it's not cost effective for anybody else. Bill will talk more about, negotiating tactics under that particular regime. But the basic thing is that you understand that the person across the table is a person and they want their company to be appreciated, and we tell them what they could do for us that would make us appreciate them. That might be oversimplified. Let's see. Generally speaking, this is a time when we can ask for, like if there are any parts of town that don't have cable, we can ask them to extend cable there. To my knowledge in Whately, there's at least one resident who, in the last 2 negotiations, said, "No, I don't want cable." Pandemic comes, they want cable, and I don't think they've been able to get that. Right, Becky? Becky doesn't have cable at this point, right, Pete?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So having heard nothing, I would assume she still does not have cable up there at the very end of North Street. So I know in my town, there's at least one place, and I haven't done the due diligence of going out and asking around to find out where else. But the first time I did this 20 years ago, I just got in my car and I went to the end of every road in Whately, and I knocked on the door and said, "Do you have cable or Comcast?" And every single one said yes, except for somebody, Becky, and then somebody else off Conway Road who had a really long driveway, and they were like, we don't need no stinking cable. So that's one thing we can ask for in the negotiations. We normally get 2 kinds of grants. One is generally an equipment grant, which in this past time around, we basically turned that right over to FCAT to upgrade the equipment. They needed a server. They needed there's just all kinds of upgrades they needed about 10 years ago.
We're in the process too of looking into getting a new server as well. I'm happy that we located here to Sunderland Town Hall.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This will have HD capability. We may need to do a procurement to get one, so that's a process.
Oh, because it's most expensive enough.
Yes, and the other thing too is Conway, because Conway already has an HD channel. I've been in touch with Comcast about getting I'm waiting back to hear back from our liaison about getting it installed. But I'm thinking maybe since this is a piece of equipment that's going to benefit all 4 towns, we get something that can handle 4 channels and everything, and we split the bill 4 ways amongst the 4 towns for a capital purchase.
Yes, well,
Or maybe 5 ways. That way it's
Well,
Four
but
towns
how
plus
it's,
FCAT.
how it's divided is something we can talk about.
Okay.
Because it's probably, would not be equal among the towns.
Okay,
Um,
we can
just
discuss
because-
that at a later date.
Right, yeah,
And
that,
you seem like the person I'll need to work with to figure that out.
oh, okay, yeah.
And Bob Armstrong, since he's overseeing.
And, right, since
Okay.
Conway is with us, but their franchise renewal date is like 5 years out of sync with ours.
Right,
So they got an HD channel last time, because that's one of the things you can ask for under equipment is, you can ask that, that the infrastructure be updated. And last time around, we couldn't get them to give us HD.
I do have a quick question, so I've been sort of going through the bylaws to re-amend them and everything. I know that this was the original agreement, FCAT was originally these three towns, when did Conway join, without curiosity? Because I guess FCAT was
That was
sounded,
before 2014.
all right,
I think it would be around,
so maybe 5 years after you guys? If you're saying you're 5 years
I
out?
think it was within 5 years.
Okay,
Within 5 years, they just so much, something like that.
okay,
They had just joined when I went off the board, and I think I went off the board in 2014.
okay. So that would, FCAT was founded around 2008, 2007, I think.
2007.
I can get this stuff if you'd like me to.
No, probably not necessary. Yeah, so upgrades to our common infrastructure are also in the contracts. So like, for example, last time they had figured out a way to do everything with still copper, basically, and using these, QAM, multiplexers. So they, said, yeah, we'll put the QAM in all different places and get that working. And if that's kind of part of the infrastructure needs to be changed, that's something that that we can negotiate for. So we have to have a good idea of what we want, what we need. And we might, if you know, or I'm very familiar with what Conway upgraded to, that might be the place to start.
Okay,
And although it's been 5 years, so maybe there's,
Better.
so to me, that's one of the things that you can help us with the most, John,
okay,
is helping figure out what should we be asking for in terms of the wires that connect us to each other.
all right, I have not heard back from our liaison yet, but I have been in touch with her about who I should follow up with about getting that installed, and I will ask that when they reach out to me, so just
Yeah,
let me grab the police leave, I can make that.
okay. No, Becky comes prepared.
But you had to do rather.
That's the.
Or one something. Oh, I have said, yeah, there you go.
There you go, John.
What?
Want to come to paper, you gotta get them.
I need there's a leader.
Oh, no, yeah,
From the
yeah.
paper, so it's not rough looking.
I preparated that, oh.
On my camera, that's why I need to look.
You look nice on camera there, John.
Yeah, they look good looks I have, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's usually also a negotiated amount for an equipment grant. And often that grant is specified by things like, well, we need to upgrade our server.
That might help pay
this,
for some of
we
the
need
stuff, actually.
Um,
Where do I go to find those?
Hmm?
Where
No,
do I-
that's what we're, one of the
Okay.
things that's gonna be negotiated.
got
And
it.
normally the grant is, we're, in the end, we're gonna have 3 separate contracts that get signed by 3 separate select boards.
Okay,
Okay, and Whately being the smallest town, will have the smallest equipment grant. And Sunderland.
I thought Conway was the
Next,
smallest.
Conway's not negotiating their.
Yes. Of the three, lately.
Out of the 3,
Gotcha.
and then Deerfield will have, oh, sorry, grant. That equipment grant, and I think in the past, sometimes, for example, I'm not gonna remember if this was 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but probably both. They needed new cameras in the Deerfield Town Hall. But they needed new this or that or the. So, and some of, as you know, the equipment that's in Deerfield Town Hall really serves all of you. So. We.
Might be our guy.
That might be our guy, that might be Bill. So we can agree about what we'll do with any grants. But we have to kind of, we have to say, this is what we did.
Dog.
Hey, Bill, Brandon, hey, Bill, come on in.
Right away.
Yeah, and then the last thing we.
Good, how are you? Nice.
Once I know, yeah.
Okay, and do you remember, Jonathan Shore?
Oh, yeah, I do. Good to see you.
And I don't think you've met, Dan before, Dan Murphy?
Oh, hi, Dan. Dan here with.
I like having to see on the table, some sort of.
Son was like one.
Oh, okay.
Good say.
Yeah, just towards the middle, Dan.
Becky, hi, how are you? See you. I did, yeah.
And then, joining us, the remote from the Wild From the Wild Woods of East Hampton is Peter Payne. He's our town admin in Whately.
Oh, okay, great. Nice to meet you, Peter.
So I was just kind of reviewing what this kind of.
Good.
Goes like,
Thank you.
and on top of all of that, there's sort of a recurring, Bill negotiates for a rate of, well, it's of the revenue, a rate of their revenue that they give back to us on a monthly, 6 monthly, yearly basis.
Quarterly for that, yeah.
Quarterly, and it's close to 5%, it's 4 point something percent. And I say that was the big thing we got in, was it 2004 or 2006? It must have been 2006.
Six, yes.
In 2006, because they had given us nothing.
Well, one time when I first did the license, it was zero.
It was zero, yeah, there was,
And you were paying as much as Amherst,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so that you just.
So that big jump happened in 2006. It went up a little bit. The state sets the limit at 5%.
Yeah.
And I don't remember for 4.8, 4.85, 4.9,
Yeah.
but we're somewhere around there in our current. So there's sort of, in my mind, I would think of it as four, Bill might think of it as, he'll tell you, there's the recurring income, that percentage. There's cash equipment grants. There's updates to the infrastructure that we may or may not move. And then there's like in our particular towns, are there any regions where we need to have them extend wire? And they will be, they'll be related, you know.
The time frame, like, you have this meeting, when do we ship around on?
Well, Bill might be better.
Good, thank you. I was gonna find, I had to get something out. I have to say that, the Lightning 116 took a lot longer than I thought.
Right, coming around.
A new Salem, not far, but,
No,
you know, it's the back roads and,
Gotcha.
and you get it so in front of you.
for some reason, I thought you lived in Boston there.
I did. I lived in, back when I first had the license in Stoneham. That's right,
Okay.
just north of.
I know what that is.
And my wife lives in, New Salem. It's set inside over there, 10 years full time. Okay, well, good to be here again. I had to get something out and I apologize. I took a little longer than I thought. So Bill Solomon, and as Joyce said, I do a lot of cable licensing. I was Stoneham Town Council, if you noticed, for 30 years. And then as my wife and kids were out here, it's time to do like Jimmy Brown and say, okay, I'll give them a year notice, I'm gonna move out. So, but I've been doing cable licensing for 30 years. I must have done 300 licenses everywhere from Martha's Vineyard to, Gill, up in Pittsfield now, North Berkshires. We're lucky we have Comcast, not sure, it's too. And of course, I've done a lot of licensing out here, and these towns. So, cable is changing because of the streaming competition. And Comcast is still doing good licenses, but they started trying to pull back in certain ways. They're not yet gaining the license document very much. But for instance, as Troy said, there's funding that comes two ways. There's the percentage of gross revenue, the franchise fee, PEG access support that goes to support FCAT and PEG access, and there's capital funding that comes in, besides the 50 cents every year per subscriber that goes to the town. So as an example, Comcast now, and it's true that you're in a different division in Eastern Mass and Central Mass. You're in you have Vermont and part of Connecticut and yourself. So it's different players. And I know they're the individuals, and they kind of, push towns around a lot. I like them very much, but if you let them push you around, the towns get pushed around. Forgetting the government affairs representative you have out there.
Yeah, I'd like
I like
underneath.
her name too. And it's a
Yeah.
guy who also does it, but
Plus, I don't have my computer to look it up.
from Holyoke. So with that changing, what that tells us is we do want to move fast, because the longer we wait, the longer, the more they're gonna be less likely to want to give you pay capital dollars. They might at one point, big changes. They don't want to do 10-year license anymore. You may know these are the Comcast and us, it's 10-year licenses. I think it works both well for both. So, and this is a term, we're not televising this, correct?
Correct, it's being recorded. though.
Yeah.
It will post it on the website.
It will be, well,
Will be. It is a public meeting.
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't mean that, I just want to make sure we saw, I apologize.
We can go into
Oh my God.
executive session maybe and discuss it.
There's really no good legal reason, but that's fine. There's nothing I was gonna say that is gonna be, the subject here, but it's good.
okay.
So with that, we want to get started fast, and I'll take us through what that process would be. Let me just also pull out the license. Let's see our meeting. Piece. So let's see. Joyce, do you have a license with it? Just want to look at the date. Otherwise, I can put my computer on, but
I have it on my computer, my computer's being used for the Zoom.
yeah, I don't have to say a lot.
I feel like it was,
Is it December, is it up December 31st of 26?
This one signed the meeting. This is,
yeah, it was the 20 years ago one,
unless I'm five, that's.
Yeah.
Yes.
but the one for 2015.
Yeah.
It moved into 2016.
Yeah, okay, I'll pull it up. So, so here's what we want to do, in process. I'll put together all the information that I think is needed. And, I'll take a look at the website, of the DTC, and I'll put together, sheets that have your subscriber numbers back from 2015 till now.
Mhm.
So we'll have that. You should get, and Comcast is good at this, quarterly reports. And every time you get a quarterly payment, there's a backup that has the gross revenue in different categories. And then shows the franchise fee.
Mhm.
It would be helpful if you have them, and I should say that they typically go to the select board. Once in a while, they'll go to the access court,
We signed them over to the access court. We signed over the payments, so they,
but the back, so maybe they send it back. So I'll speak, the director is.
Me.
John, you think you get the quarterly franchise fee reports that has gross revenue?
No.
Alright, so
Okay.
the town probably can, so I'll write an email to everybody
Mhm.
saying,
How do I go about getting those?
well, you know what, if you have them, which is likely, they're just gonna be in the select board file. I'll get them and they'll have some cable file and they put it away. They will never, in 30 years of doing this, I've never seen anyone give it to a financial person, an accountant or anyone. It just goes into if it's capped, and usually it is, and it may be in your back records. But if you, and I can get this from Comcast if I need to, but if you have it,
Mhm.
I would say go back to 2015. And you have the quarterly reports come in, February 15th, May 15th, August 15th, November 15th. So it'd be around that time of year. And when I get those, I'll also put those in a sheet, and we're gonna take a look at how their revenues have been. And sometimes I find something where, like I have in a charter community, they didn't pay something. And then depending on the timing and everything, there may be things to do. But I wanted particularly because the cable company is gonna say that, hey, look, it's not gonna be fewer subscribers for going now than 2015. We can't pay, you know, there's a big pay capital, we've lost subscribers. And we're gonna be able to say that, well, you know, we took a look at your revenue, because even if they've lost subscribers, the ones who are there, they're buying more cable services, they Comcast charges more, so the revenue will not be as much now as the subscribers. The second thing that's also important to keep in mind, and I'd say this to the cable company, this is, well, you know, they don't really have a great, the access corp and the towns don't have a great way to make up for the lost revenue when people are cutting and shaping the cord. But you Comcast do, because you provide internet service. If people are not getting cable, then they're like getting internet and streaming. And you know what? Even though that's not something we regulate, the only reason a cable company can be in the public way providing internet and telephone service, unless they want to become a telephone company, is that through their cable license. The FCC, and really a terrible decision, you know, said, oh, they can use it, and you can't even regulate them, and you can't charge them with respect to internet and telephone. So then when, so it's this cable license that enables them to have that revenue, even though we don't count it as part of the gross revenue.
So we don't see the internet, right?
Don't see anything.
Don't see it.
Right, so when you start telling us, well, you know, you're down subscribers, well, your revenue is not down, far down in cable. And you have the revenue for the internet, which is the basis to having that.
Way bigger, I bet.
But now they say, that's right, they have more revenue to some degree for 55% from internet to cable. So we'll sort of remind them of that. So it can't just be, so we'll look at the responses, because, you know, they learn and figure out their perspective, and they hear it. They don't really know that perspective. They could be a telephone company, but they're not, they're a cable company. And secondly, you know, they're using the right of way. An example I kind of think of is you rent the building out through a bidding process to a private school. You had a school not needed anymore, you got a new one, you're renting it out to a private school. And I use this for this past issue, but so let's, and the rent leases up again, and they used to have 1,000 students, and now they have 700, and they say, well, you know, we think we should pay less rent because we have 700 students. I mean, we're renting it to you for a school. Would you sell and don't sell in terms of your students? I mean, we wish you luck, but that's really not a direct factor unless you can't afford it anymore, you're going to leave and want to think about that. So I think the same for cable, right? You know, they're on your right way providing cable service. No, we don't want to ignore those facts, but it can't be like this is rate regulated, that if they lose this, we lose that. So I'm gonna get the revenues, and I'll track those and see if anything looks suspicious. If it's so, we'll talk about it. If it was really suspicious, we could ask them for more information, and if it's within, I'll look at the license 2 years or so, we could audit. Then at the same time, we want to have a capital plan. So you may have some basis for it. Now that capital plan will be for 10 years, will be for the equipment, for the access port, and it'll also be for your buildings if you need cameras or other keyboard related things. And so usually what I do on the capital plan is first I'll look at what I think the number should be. On the capital plan, like in cable licensing, we figure out it's called future cable related community needs and interests. What are the interests needs of the town? And we'll have a capital plan. The company, if they were formally responding, would have to give a proposal that meets those needs, taking into account the cost. We're just going to tell them, these are the needs. We're not gonna, we're not gonna, the needs for these communities, not to be, Boston, New York City, but we're not gonna bid against ourselves. If that we understand that those needs will have a certain number and the final number will not be that high. But if they're real needs, we're gonna put them down in paper, and those are the categories for the studio, field equipment, to everything else. So that now, who do you buy equipment from? Who do you work with?
So there's several companies, I mean, you mean like Comcast or?
Oh, no, like you buy from,
We go to like Wasman AV and buy stuff through them. We're looking at upgrading their server. Probably we may go with the Castus again, but I want to see what else is available too. And want to research that a little bit.
okay, so one of the things I do is I usually ask one of the folks who they're in the sales business, but they're very helpful and there's no obligation to help us develop a capital plan.
I know Wasman AV has been helping me update like the equipment for the Deerfield meeting cover. So probably Wasman AV.
So what I can do, I'll send out yourself a copy, post some sample capital plans. The people I've used in the past, Gary Pink, Gary Pink.
I'm sure I might
Okay,
know.
it's got Gary Pink, and there's a woman working with, which was excellent. The other day she's working with some towns, and Marty Feldman,
I know Marty, he's a good guy.
Marty's a good guy, and I think he's still doing it.
He was, I know him through Cemetery, that's what I know.
Okay, so another thing on these folks is that they're pretty experienced with it, it's no charge. And so I like Gary, and I can't think of the name of his associate, but she really is good. She's for charter, it turns out.
I see.
So I thought I'll reach out to all those folks, and then what we can do is then we can do it like separately, reach out to your company. So let's put together a capital plan. Now to do that, we're gonna, potentially have a meeting where we're all there, and we're gonna coordinate to make sure that we have the equipment that's needed, again, as I said, by each town. So that the person who comes out, they'll actually come out and they'll go to your town hall with you, and then develop, and we'll look at that capital plan. That's an important part. That's a really important building block, because there's no better cable company than Comcast. They really are the best, and they treat people fairly. I mean, they get business. They try to figure out, but they're very fair. They figured out that being fair to towns is just good business policy. You work together. We're partners. We want to see them succeed. Community access is stronger in Massachusetts than anywhere in the country, because the law has the money going for that. It limits where it can go. Where the rest of the country, you could use it for anything. And at the end of the day, the building of community, the support of local economy that community television provides, we all know that through COVID and post-COVID and hybrid meetings, is far more important for building both relationships and community groups and support and helping both parties. So we'll put that capital plan together, and we want to get started on that right away, which I will. Is Jonathan? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Either one.
Okay. So John, so then, and I said, I'll give a number and say, well, I mean, you have to be realistic, but a budget number, and I'll do the numbers based on the numbers. So let's now talk about, and on the PEG access support, is it, I should pull this up to see what the percentage is. Let me pull it up.
It was close to 5.
Oh, okay.
But not 5.
Okay.
4.8.
That's where it was for Conway, I think.
Okay, so I think at that time, so there's an advantage being a little below 5%. I mean, 5 is fine, but with the 2019, there was an FCC decision called about in-kind consideration. Yes, okay. And so what it was. So what it said is, some companies argue this for 40 years, but in 40 years, like Guest Blanker, Stock with gambling is going on here, the FCC said, oh, we agree with Charter that if a town gets non-monetary benefits apart from a capital, is Bay Capital, the cable act is separate from that five, up to 5%, then that should count toward 5%. And so that would be things like cable service for public buildings, and the appeals courts upheld the good guys and said they can't charge a market rate, there is really no market rate, their marginal cost is. Or for video return, there's an operating maintenance cost. So, so because of that, and Comcast doesn't do it, so they're great credit. And they also have this $1.30 a year, the 50 cents to the town, the 80 cents to the state. So that goes off of the 5%. So the benefit of being a little below 5% is if somehow a company could put some of these things toward the 5%, that means they pay that much less to get you 5%. So as a result of that, I'll take a look at what we have, but I think we just stay where we are. I think we're probably 4.85. I did
Yeah,
that a lot.
I feel like it was 4.85, but
Good, and I'll take a
you
look.
know, my memory.
So because of that, we're not gonna, but we'll stay there. There's no upside in getting more. They oftentimes will offer, well, we'll put it to the 5%. In an attempt to pay a little less capital, no, fine, at 4.85. Because why, they put it on the bill. It's not that they charge me. They say, they put it on the bill, so why raise that?
Yeah,
So, we'll stay at 4.85. And now we have to go to video return, which is, you have some local origination sites that, that you can go live from. So let me first ask you, are you using, John, the Comcast video return, or are you just using the internet or something, or what are you doing now?
Right now, it's broadcast standard, yeah, that answers your question.
Yeah, well, how do you look, when it goes out from the town halls, does it go over Comcast video return? I mean, we did,
I think so,
Okay.
it goes to
So-
like modulators, I've never really given, if there's a problem, I call them, they come fix it.
okay, so with that, and I'll take a look.
I have tech people help me out, I just,
Okay, no, and we spend a lot of time on that. It's always a very contentious issue, the video return. So what I'll do is I'll look at each license and we'll look, and then I'll speak to everyone in each individual party who's involved and find out from your perspective, you think that, this one, Chip? Do you think that, that it's being used, let's see here, I can use my phone, but some in public or FCAT, do we have a code? for
Yeah.
that?
Public works for me.
I will use the Cat 5G if you want. The password is,
Oh, what's it?
Hmm.
Okay, yep, yeah,
right down.
yeah, so nobody watching can deal with that. No spaces, all lowercase.
Yeah, so regular, I can't understand the last letters.
Media.
Oh, okay,
Oh, I didn't even write it right.
okay, that helps.
I have horrendous handwriting, this one,
Oh,
as you've seen.
good, okay. All right, so, then I'll also speak, Eileen Lane.
I knew lady, that's right.
Takes a while, right?
Right, it used to be Steve Fitzgibbons,
And Steve's still there,
but he's not.
legal, more like the larger division, and also Dan Glanville
Oh, Dan Bengal.
is
He
still.
was like above Steve.
Yeah, he was a big, before, only because he was before.
He was Steve before Steve was.
That's
Steve,
right.
Right? This tells you how far back.
You
we
know,
go.
you know your stuff.
Interesting.
Okay, so, so we're gonna find out, I'm gonna find out then who is, I'll put down, what does the license require? Of them, and then I'll figure out with you and them, well, did they do it? And I'll talk to you, is it used?
Mhm.
If it's not used, why is it broken? You're not using it? And then I'll have, do you need it? So I will put that all in a document, and I'll have an outline of all these things I'm doing for you, after this meeting. And then we'll figure out together, well, what do we want to do? Now, in some communities, I look at getting, nowadays it would be a buyout, that'll give you some money, it's hard to do now. And then you can build your own like municipal fiber. The challenge here is everything's so far away, it's just too costly. So, as a result, we're just gonna look to see, now it may be, there are things you don't use that you really don't need. And we can give them the good news, they no longer have to operate and maintain it. So I'm looking at the Sunderland license. And let's see, the list, PEG access, oh my God. PEG access video return sites. And all in there. Wow. So I'll have to look at what they're all, they have exhibit 3A and 3B, I'll have to see what it says, 6.3 and 6.3B, but just giving these sites, and some might be done there and done, there's Beautiful Public Library, Beautiful Elementary School, South Beautiful Fire Station, South County Senior Center, Frontier, FCAT Studios, which is when you're in Deerfield Town Hall, Wakefield Elementary, Wakefield Municipal. So there's a lot here. So I'm gonna just put it together for you, and then we're gonna talk about, all right, what do we want? And so then we'll have, and the operating, I think, like I said, it's so many 4.85s. I'm not a betting guy, but if I had a bet, I would say that is it, as you said, Joyce. You get, so you pay capital and then look at 4.8, okay, 4.80%.
Okay,
So, and I just don't overly,
maybe it went from 7.5 to 8.0
yeah,
last time. Yeah, it went up like a little tiny.
I remember
bit,
that.
last time, but not a lot.
And then PEG capital, here we have PEG capital. So operating, probably the 4.8, PEG capital through the capital plan. That'll inform us in what we're gonna look for PEG capital. This is, I think, true of the Western Division also. They're looking now, like in Eastern Mass and Central, they're told, no, don't pay a set dollar amount any longer. They'll try to pay a per subscriber capital amount. So instead of replace 800,000, 300,000, 1.2 million, 60,000, whatever this like, say we'll pay 80 cents per subscriber per month, or $1.20 per month, or 60 cents. So what I'll do is I have a spreadsheet that will, when we have our PEG capital, on the right will have, let's say for all the towns, let's say $400,000. And then these guys sometimes like to pay it over 10 years, so it'd be 40,000 a year. And then I'll have, well, if you got paid instead of that, $1.40 a month, or 80 cents a month, or how much would that be over 10 years under assumptions that they lose 2% of the subscribers a year, or 5%, or 8%, or 10%? Then we'll take a look at how they've been doing with the subscribers. Because we're towns and access points, as you know, you need certainty. You don't have, well, your municipal funding from the state will be totally dependent on the lottery. You can't make an investment decision. So if we're prepared to do a per subscriber amount, and I'll discuss another methodology, then we need to make sure that that number is high enough that if the worst case scenario happened, that we would still do as well as that set dollar amount. So I'll just do a spreadsheet that shows that. There's another method of paying capital dollars, which is a blend of, well, let's get some money as a set dollar amount, $300,000, let's say, do it over 10 years. And then a percentage of gross revenue, that's a 0.25% or 0.5%. So what the company gets from that is the gross revenue percentage gives them the chance to pay less if their gross revenue goes down. when we get over that, over the per subscriber amount, is that they, per subscriber, it just doesn't go up. It's if it's $1 or something, if you keep it in the set amount, if the percentage gross revenue, then surely it was subscribers, but it's talking about before, but their gross revenue at least goes up because people are buying more. So I'm gonna look at all three possibilities for PEG capital after we do the capital plan, and I'll write that down for us. And then we'll talk about, well, what do we want to do? What do we want? We might say, well, we want to set dollar amounts. And then let the company come in, well, we rather do it this way. But we will have an analysis of each of those methods, so we can best figure out, all right, they really want to do a per subscriber amount. And, all right, well, if they want that approach, then we need an amount that protects us. So there are times where agreeing to that is okay, because they get their paradigm, they can say to the company, well, I got these towns to do the per subscriber amount, we get an amount that gives us some protection going forward. So I'll have that analysis and we'll make that decision. Now, so these are the building blocks to figure out where we want to be. We're gonna get an HD channel. One, right now, you have three, correct?
We have one, the town at Conway.
Well, each town has 3 channels,
Right.
true, none of them are HD except for the channel in common.
Right. Which we're working on. Here's this rundown. So there's a channel 12 and a channel 23, which are both standard depth. That is, we can broadcast, we can program that, and that goes out, and it's the same content for each channel. The channel 15 for Whately and Sunderland, it's just a bulletin board, but channel 15 in Deerfield is programmable, and that's just for Deerfield.
That's right, I got
Because they are at the location of the server.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, you got an HD channel, this Conway wasn't that long ago. So, and the Conway thing was the big thing, that we had the connection to Deerfield. That was the big
Yes,
thing.
that-
We're still working on that.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that then, make sure, because we want to make, that's the other thing I want to do. I want to go over the license and speak to them.
One thing we are looking at doing is having the server relocated here in town.
Okay,
I was under the impression that Deerfield was programmable because they paid the most, but that's.
No, I think it's because of the location of the server.
Oh, okay.
okay.
So that might change,
So
if
maybe-
they really locate that server here then, interesting.
Or maybe we will program all of them. Or,
I would prefer a program each 15 and have a 15 or an HD,
Yeah.
whatever for each town.
when we do the override, in Whately, we do the override and we broadcast meetings live.
So what I'm gonna do is one day, have both of you,
Yeah,
immediately come out, and John and
I'm
John.
more than happy to do that.
yeah.
And then we're gonna, and you can put it on paper, and then I'll go over it with you. And I'll have full understanding of who has what chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't, Costello should have done that instead of the baseball thing, it would have been very successful. So I'll figure that out, and then we'll get a 1 HD channel. They'll want you to pay for the encoder. And they'll also, to my knowledge, I think, I remember, I didn't say, oh, no, they don't do it here, but at least, we get the other channels upgraded to stand a serial digital interface, SDI, and like that, I picked those up for the boys, but it's a higher standard than standard definition. Standard definition in better technology. So we would want them to upgrade the SD channels to that and provide an HD channel. And we'll talk, then we'll talk about their approach on the HD channel. That they were a little more trying to push back on those things. But, we'll have a discussion. We'll begin with the position that you wanted. And
Of
then.
course we get, that's what's gonna get more viewers.
Okay, and so with that, and so if that's the position, we'll make that clear. So then, do we have any issues with anyone not having cable service available in any town?
I think I have at least one resident.
Okay,
I've never heard any.
okay,
Doesn't mean. it's not-
I've had like some complaints that they don't quite get the channel that's pixelated, but when I've checked the signal here at the station at Deerfield, it seems to be broadcasting fine, so maybe it's something they're hooked up, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm only aware of one person who has that issue.
and I have, a person to double check on. I probably should double check on 2 people. But the last 2 times I asked them, they said no. I believe one of them may have changed their mind.
Okay, so we'll find that out, because you can usually, if you have contact look at it, and we're not gonna try to change anything in the license, but if it's reasonable to say, well, we'll try to convince them that, all right, let's get that done. So with that, those are the primary issues. And so, I'm surprised that people being so mature now, I try to figure those things out. It shouldn't have to be a 3-year process, you know, to ask everyone in the world, because, you know, there are certain issues, things you get done and not done. Now, how do you get success in a cable license? You, one is you believe in community television, and you express that belief to Comcast, and they can tell you're serious about it, it means a lot. And part of that process, that I think is the most important to get that message across, is to have the public hearing.
Mhm.
And we can have different public hearings for different towns, you can have different public hearings for public versus government. Well, I'll talk about that briefly.
We can, Sis was saying that, where should we look in the, should that be held here, or maybe in like one particular location?
Well, let's talk about it. So, you know, we have different towns. I think the public should just be the one here, like have a public hearing. And I have some good tapes of meetings. I was at the town with one, but there's a lot of great public hearings. I can give you 1 or 2. It's, you know, take a look, so, you know, you get a sense. But those don't happen just by advertising and expecting people to come. You reach out to people and you call them beforehand and you say, it's important to you. It's important to us. You're hearing from you can really make a difference in the cable company. Because, you know, you go to something and 2 people say something and cable company say, well, only 2 people mentioned that. And I hear and I tell people, it's the one time where being repetitive is okay. You know, it's because again, Comcast, there only one person said it, because everyone was too polite to say the same thing. So, so I think we should have a public hearing, all the towns together. And then we try to reach out and, you know, Bob Armstrong's a good guy to get involved in this. You know, get the kids who are in school who if they can, to
Say Kevin Murphy too.
you know, so many kids, you know, it's like the old AV when I was growing up, that the kids were lost out of school, but the AV.
And we would record this, it wouldn't just be on Zoom, like I'll make sure it's recorded.
Okay, yeah, and
From everything, and something too, we could even send to Boston too, because I know they're trying to get that bill too.
Oh,
It'd be good.
okay,
There's you're aware of that,
Yeah.
be a good resource. for that.
yeah, I agree with that. So then, and so we'll reach out, and so we make a list of groups and things, and we'll split that up on different people. We'll see if other people help you, and sometimes if there's an event beforehand, you know, like a meeting where you can put up a table and a TV and a monitor and show something, and I used to bake cookies, but get people inspired from that, and so when you have that public hearing, and I'll show you the tapes, it's just, it's so moving about what, and I know we could talk about making a film, a brief film, taking some of the things you have and making a brief film, which, you know, film is valuable. I'll give you some examples of that. So we would have that public hearing. I think also, you know, while it's nice to have government people there, you want the public people to be able to speak and not have to wait too long. I think with all the towns, we would have a government hearing separate. And when oftentimes I do that, we can figure out the time.
Becky, how would it be maybe have it here in that room, that way we could do sort of an open house / public hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have it open and do that, and then we could have like a public hearing in the meeting room.
Sounds good.
Okay, why don't we do that?
All right, well, let's get the, that makes sense. Let's, so then we have a government hearing. And then,
Will I come first or after?
you know, I like the government first.
Okay.
Question, Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, have an open house afterwards, invite people to stay by for
Right.
refreshments.
I just wanna make sure I understand, are you saying?
Yeah,
Good idea.
Yeah, so I would have, and John, is it, I'd have the public hearing, I mean, the government hearing first.
Yeah,
And we could pick a time that these folks would like it. And then, those who are inspired can come to the public hearing. Now, oftentimes what I do, and I'd like to
And
do
just to be clear, because there's people who, the words you're using, PEG access, public education, government. For us, the government is 15, and I lose track of whether 20.
the government is, well, the government is unofficially 15, but we have it assigned, well, all right.
Okay, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But those are the three realms for which we're responsible. Public access, education access, government access. Okay, just want to put that out because the terminology might not be familiar to everybody.
Right, thank you. And so, oftentimes what I do, what I think I would do here, is I try to do a department head meeting in each town. And ask, the town administrator could, as department head meeting, in the morning, whatever day it would be, I'd come out and we'd spend about 35 minutes. Just going over, do you use, and you go by, your symbol is is it F?
FCAT, want me to go grab it for you?
Yeah, no, I remember.
Let me go get you.
I remember that, yeah, that's Frontier. So, and those work well, and most people don't use it, and I ask them, well, what are some of the things you use it for? The clerk has, birth records, death records, and all sorts of voting, and then we ask them if they would come to the government hearing. So it's a way, thank you. Yeah, so it's a way to get them interested, at least in helping you to come, and we'll be there with maybe one person, a select board member. And that inspires them to come to the public hearing, which for them would be a separate government hearing. All right, so, and then the educational one, I think we're not to do that separately, my advice. Let's have all those folks at the public hearing. But we do want to, one point, maybe Joyce, or whoever who's most connected to the schools, maybe yourself, Ben, Dan, sorry, is to meet with the schools, the superintendents and or their faculty, a media person, and talk to them about how, we want to help you, but to help you, you need to help us. And so, and they would come in my world, as I see it, to the public hearing. So you can have the superintendent maybe, or assistant superintendent, the media director, because in the modern world, there's video is part of everything, TikTok, to every job, and every community thing. And so-
Everybody has one of these,
That's
too.
right.
And we should teach people how to use them.
Right, and so with that,
Don't there.
that's an important part of the public hearing. And then we'll make a list of groups, community groups, we'll split them up, as said, and you'll reach out.
Now, I have a question for you about this. When I've been filming the library being built, but I know they did like some information sessions to Tilton Library, like they had like people write on the board. Do you think that's something we should look into doing? Like maybe make it interactive like that, like what people want to see and stuff like that?
I didn't quite get the.
Oh, like sometimes we did something similar with the senior center where we were doing a feasibility study. You bring people in, you talk for a while, and there's somewhere there's a chance for them to be able to put their ideas up.
Oh,
Like, for example, we had a couple of different locations we were thinking of possibly putting a senior center,
Yeah,
and people were able to take sticky notes and put, they like about this one.
is that something
I don't
you
like
think
about
we should
this
look
one,
into
but-
doing with this too, or no?
and your suggestion is to do it through film or do it?
No, to do it at this hearing.
At the in-person.
Yes, I've been at those things where you begin to, I think no,
Okay,
because I think the most important thing is to ask people to speak for, whatever, 60 seconds. You know, get up and, because they got the government affairs person there. And that creates like a feeling that, you know, and these folks, they're good folks, so they want to support this, the town cares, the accent corp works hard. So I think, it's less of I've done that, I've seen that, the building blocks.
Right, but it's
I'll
just
plan-
not about getting feedback from people, we get that in advance.
Yeah,
This is about giving the feedback to the government affairs people from Comcast with whom we are negotiating. So they get the sense of what,
but you want them to break out separately or break?
no, I'm just repeating what I think you said,
Yeah,
which is
oh, okay,
the thing about, you know, putting stickers up on things, that's us getting
that's right,
feedback
getting
from
from people,
people.
that's right.
What we really want to do at a hearing is
Express.
people expressing their
So,
support.
right, it makes it creates a period of time, where we can negotiate and it's a good, it's a good atmosphere, it's a good context. Because you can feel, they'll feel how serious and how, interested this community is. In community television. So, I'll write up, that, and let's talk about timing for that, because we're, you know, with this, and the licenses, So this one is, okay, December 16th, all right. So,
What year?
December of 2016.
20.
Oh,
What
well,
sense is that number?
okay, yes, that was 26, right, I'm sorry.
So December 26th.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
So this last one was signed December 26th.
16, yeah.
60.
Oh,
That's,
16.
that's one of the.
So what do you worry about here with 18 months or whatever it is?
Yeah, we've got basically.
When do you have, when do you want to look into doing the hearing?
Yeah, it's just because the way cable's moving, and,
Oh, and like come January, it's budget season.
so I think that's the timing. You know, that we should have, the way I think of the timing of the summer there. I think late September, early October.
All right, I can tell you right now, November, December are too crazy for me, because my birthday's in November.
Well, I will see.
Big call.
My dream is to move election day, so the beginning, everyone's depressed. Because of the north.
Don't we already have an election?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, we had one, what do we need another one for?
that's true, that's true.
So you're saying, trying to schedule this,
Late September,
for,
early October, and,
Sooner might be better, so let's shoot for late September.
right,
And we start the governmental hearing.
yeah, so we'll start with the department head, then we could do that, you know, to have enough time for the, we would do that,
It has to go.
Yes.
Government hearing.
very beginning of September.
I had going.
And then we'd have the government hearing maybe in mid, you know, like maybe, so we might end up with the last one in the beginning of October.
So we do 3 or 2 hearings then?
Department head meetings, which are just,
Yeah.
you know, not hearing, but
They're
beginning of September, town by town.
Yeah.
And then the government hearing, which I would think about is late, you know, toward the end of September, you know, the third or fourth week. It's gonna be pretty soon after the other department heads, but about the third week.
so then you say department head meeting, that's, you and the department heads.
And someone from each town who's, you know, who's a good person who knows the individuals and, you know, has.
Okay, so like one of us, basically,
Yes,
right, okay.
that'd be best. And, so, you know, Tom and yourself. So, and then the hearing, public hearing, I think, beginning of October.
Mhm.
I was compared to Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney. Let's have a show. You know, and you get excited. And it is, and it's a great way for access, and access people say this. It's a great way to kind of look at where you are and where you're going. You know, in life, you just so busy every day. Sometimes you don't take on the broader view and step back. So this is a good chance for all of us to do that, for the communities. So then what we would do is that after that hearing's done, we would sit down, you know, later that week. With Comcast. And now, what I'd like to do is present. To put together, then when we sit down, we have our capital plan. And I like to put together the access part. And I know a person who does such a good job at this. I have had him work in one community where the access director there was retiring. And it was a good, but I like that, I'll talk about it. I like that, and he worked in one other community where it was just a normal access director and just assisting. But however we do it, John, I want to put together a
Raise that, John, are
entertainment
you
document.
paying him or me?
Oh, yourself,
It's calling Jonathan that way.
okay, yeah. Call you John.
Jonathan.
Yeah,
John,
but
Jonathan, oh,
there's two Johns.
Yes, I know that, yes. So Jonathan, an entertainment document.
Okay,
That talks a little about where you are, I say, stick and switch around, where you've been, where you are, and where you like to go. I have a lot of good samples. Some of them are more complex than,
if you could send me some.
but I'll send you those samples. And we'll put that together. Part of that will be the capital plan. We'll have like a programming schedule. We'll talk about the community groups that you work with. I mean, I have so many, and then you pick the one that you think feels like a good format. You know, start with a blank page. And then we'll put that together. So then when we sit down with Comcast, we'll have that ascertainment document, we'll have the capital plan, we'd be coming off of the public hearing. And then before that, we would decide on our own what our negotiating positions will be going in there. What are we looking for in capital? What are we looking for on PEG access bid return, high definition? It's only a set number of issues. The rest of the license, after we get the fundamental deal done, I draft. And I have a pretty standard, it's always changed on Friday. It's always I spend so much time going over every little detail. But I'll have a license I'll put together based on what I've done for the frontier towns here. And but I'm not gonna get into those issues apart from the fundamental issues until we get a fundamental deal done. I tell people, like, when you buy a house, you don't negotiate the purchase and sale agreement before you have a deal on it. How much is the house and what are the basic terms? So we're gonna do those basic terms with Comcast. PEG operating, PEG capital, video return, HD. And then with agreement on that, then I'll draft a full license and I'll give that to Comcast. I'm just thinking of the name again. Comcast rep.
Oh, Eileen.
Eileen, yeah, Eileen. So I give that to Eileen, and then we go back and forth. Are you involved? Is if we need to help on an issue,
Mhm.
and then in the perfect world, that license gets done, and then we have set up like I call it, a proceeding for each board. Now, for each board at that point, one or two things, and just about it. I can meet with the board beforehand, we can go over everything before they have the proceeding, or you can, it depends on how it's working, how they're being updated by the town administrator. But then we do a little advertisement for the proceeding, and then they would have a small proceeding, which no one speaks at it, it's different than the hearing, and then they vote. So, in a really perfect world, very hard to do this, because Comcast, they have all their licenses, and they may not have an incentive to move in the same way we want to. But in the really perfect world, we would have this deal done, and shortly after, when in the first meeting, one, two meetings or something, write the license, and in a perfect world, we get to get to the November, we do the little advertising for these board proceedings, and they would vote in December 2025. That's a year, it's a year before, but and we said, and this is true with Comcast, if we get this done now, and the board's been focused on other things, we'll make compromises that, otherwise we'd have less incentive to make. So that's a very aggressive schedule, but I think the one that I think we should try to see if we can accomplish. And then, have a strong license to move on for the next 10 years. It's a lot of separate senior discounts, they don't do senior discounts. We'll have to talk about that, to see what we want to do.
Mhm.
They don't have it now, they don't do it in Western Mass, but maybe one exception. It doesn't amount to much, but
Yeah,
so we can talk about that. So that's it, folks, I'll put down in writing what I've said here today. Together with Joyce. And then I think we can meet again.
what time frame for our next meeting?
This is a good time, I think, Friday afternoon, unless you guys prefer to be different.
Yeah, but in terms of when it would be, I think, Jim.
Like, is there a time, like 2 weeks out, 4 weeks out?
Oh, well, I think before that, I think we should meet again. And I don't know if I've already.
When you say we,
This group,
this group, that's what I mean.
Yes.
When is this group meeting again?
I would say.
Stream 113.
People around. Yeah, maybe, I would say, if people around the beginning of July, like the week after July 4th.
That works.
I'm around for that, yeah.
I think that's a good time, that would.
Second.
July 13. No, it was a Friday.
Is it?
I don't know, I don't know.
That'd be awesome. I'm fighting that.
Other than the Friday that lines up with that.
No, and that'd be July 11th.
11. 7-11.
Right.
Yeah,
And this time Friday afternoon works for you?
Yeah.
Oh,
And what day of the week is that now?
that's a Friday.
Friday, July 11th. 3 P.M.
I'll be sure to be around that way.
Yeah, and this actually works through the fall, mostly for me. There's a few Fridays when I can't. But, for the most part, I don't teach Friday afternoons this fall.
Yeah, I'm taking off a little bit around Labor Day.
Right, yeah, people will have this.
I never take vacations. I never.
There you go.
It's about.
I know.
For this next meeting.
Finally, man, they just take one in March.
More
February 2024.
Okay, for the agenda of that next meeting, would you be more comfortable if it were executive session?
Well, there's no executive session exception for contract negotiations that aren't labor. Department.
Okay.
So, everything is fine open, it really
Yeah,
is.
okay.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
nothing, there's no big secrets,
Okay.
there may be some ways I express this or that differently, when it's not. But it's not substantively any different.
Okay.
We are planning on posting this meeting to our YouTube page. I will be sending it to the board also, so they can see.
I'm sure we fast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All right, so as far as homework goes, the 3 reps for the town, we have to make sure that we understand how many, if any, new hookups in our town are needed.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, so-
What do you, yeah.
Well, that's what Bill, Joyce described going door to door to get that information. So can we get that, can we get a subscriber list of addresses? I bet they won't get.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, right, it's a.
Or a strand map.
Yeah.
I think, I thought somewhere in our franchise agreement, they have to give us a strand map if we request.
What, that's right.
Yeah,
Strand.
yeah.
That's right.
Like, so strand.
Yes, I would begin with, we can certainly, and they likely tell you, if there's anyone who doesn't keep with trouble, they will. I think that Eileen would provide that, but we also can, reach out in a public way to people. You might have the municipal,
Yeah,
messaging system. Just to see if anyone that doesn't have Comcast cable available,
You are personnel or the calls. we-
so would that be something that our town administrators should do, or is it something if I emailed Eileen and asked on behalf of this committee for a strand map of the towns, Deerfield, Sunderland, and Whately?
Yeah, I like asking for a strand map because it keeps them on their toes.
Yeah,
And you can also ask for it at the same time. Oh, by the way, you're aware of this, if there anyone who doesn't have cable available on those lines. So I think coming
Oh,
to you
okay.
is good, yes. And
Okay.
then we may not have the advance, to the public thing, because we're reaching out to people
Yeah,
have it,
so
nobody just.
it's-
I mean, I'm gonna reach out to the ones I know about, but I could miss somebody, right?
Yeah, I mean, usually in smaller towns, if someone doesn't have cable, internet,
They've already-
and wanted, they will, no, yeah, I mean, unless they do another method that's more expensive, but we wanna find out and see if we can help out. So if Joyce, if you would do that, I think that's great,
Okay,
and then, let me know.
yeah,
The one thing, you get up, have one, I don't think, I have one doctor's appointment. But I bring my calendar, but I can't, too long, it's taking too long to get on the system here, with it, to check the
okay,
appointment. So if per chance it's that, I'll try to work something out, I'll let you know, and then I'll try to work something out on the other end. And check, take it. So with that,
What do you mean the other end?
the doctor.
yeah,
Yeah, so, all right, so,
Okay.
I'll put together with Joyce an outline from this meeting.
hmm
And, I think we made a lot of progress. I think we have a goal.
Okay.
There's no better time.
Hey, I'm just gonna review people's homework though.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
So John, you're still gonna check Deerfield, put your feelers out, who doesn't have cable? And Dan, you're gonna do the same
Yep.
thing, and with help from
Yep.
Becky.
Yep.
John, you're gonna start thinking about the, capital, 10-year capital plan. What do you need as support for that? You might not be able to answer that question right this very moment, but, reach out for support on that and what you need.
Okay, when does that, plan need to be completed by?
Next meeting.
I think we need it started at least, or a decent draft with some ideas,
For
whatever you
July.
can get for the July 11th meeting. I know that's kind of tight. As far as the technical layout, when we did that, when we did this last time, it was Doug Finn, who was, the general manager who was helping.
I'm very good friends with Doug, and I'll talk to
I
him and
think
see.
you might find reaching out to him.
I will reach out
I
to Doug.
don't know, what does he need? Hot sauce?
He's a
something
member of
like-
the same group, Masonic Lodge, man.
Oh, okay.
Oh, shoot, that's on camera.
Oh,
We're not trying to take over the world
yeah.
right now, at least.
So, I mean, because we've got to go into the room knowing, I mean, you have to be at least, and as many of us as possible, up to date with how the current system is working and how we want it to be working.
Right.
Because that's gonna be that's gonna be part of that.
Now, was he responsible for installing a lot of that equipment, do you know, Doug Finn?
Install which equipment,
Like a lot of the stuff we use today, cause
The existing.
this existing infrastructure.
I think he was, when we were still in Deerfield when Doug was here.
Okay,
We were here when
interesting.
Chris was the manager.
So
So,
this the infrastructure was put in by Doug Finn, that's
so
it.
he was, yeah, so, and he may not he may not remember every detail.
No, but that actually-
he will-
That will help me out tremendously because I thought Chris was the one who did that.
Oh, no.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
good. I'll be seeing if I can make an appointment with Doug Finn to see if he can come up so I can talk to him.
Yeah, and I would, in the summer, I have a lot more availability, during the day, although I'm gonna start traveling around July 14th and not be back till September 1st. I would
Do you think
be,
it might be worthwhile to invite him to the next meeting or no?
we might have to give him dinner. But yeah, I would love to have that.
All right, but I'll reach out to him, see if he can come to the meeting on July 3rd or July 11th.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, he's now working in West Hampton, I think, as a town. Well,
Yeah,
he's a town administrator, but they don't call him town administrator because you're too damn cheap. Oh, excuse me, that's on the air too. I meant to not say that. I'm not-
Friday.
It's Friday.
So will the next meeting be in person?
hybrid, I think would be good for me.
Yeah, because I like the.
Actually, Doug might be able to attend if it's hybrid, might be.
yeah, I might, there's a chance I might have to go.
Are you
Right.
planning on being sick?
No, it's supposed to get over.
Oh, ooh. Sorry, I heard that.
Yeah, I mean, no, hey, it's okay. People can work for us. He lives out here. No, and I think Pete especially, I think it's better for him to be able to come in hybrid. And What-
And I-
I'm more than happy to provide the infrastructure, the kind of meetings that they're and we can have people like Doug Finn or
Then if we have.
even my board come in on if they
If
want.
we have any meetings during the period I'm gone, I'm gonna be the ones that we
Yeah,
can.
Yeah. And I'll be sure to have my equipment to provide that, and hopefully we'll have the gal situations.
Yeah.
Have the app loaded.
Yes, we'll have the app loaded.
You'll have your marking.
I'll have it on my computer, so nobody else has to, and I'll have that address. And Joyce, if it's a little easier for you, FCAT has a Zoom account, we could even host the meeting on our, that way I can record the meeting.
But that'd be a little more direct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you prefer.
Yeah, and if Pete doesn't feel like we're casting him aside, by.
Hey, do you mind sending me this recording as either today or Monday, so I can get it produced and up? Cool, thank you.
Pete, you've been really quiet this whole time. Do you have any questions or anything you wanna add or ask?
Nope, nothing to add, just a fly on the wall right now.
Okay,
I know how you feel.
Yeah.
okay, all right, so everybody knows their homework. We haven't really given Becky and Pete much homework at this point, except that your heads up. He said, Bill's gonna wanna meet with you and your department.
I'll include it as in my board of directors report when we meet in July, so.
All right,
Our next board meeting, which will be posted, is, I'm not sure. I'll let you know, and
Yeah,
they'll
let
be
me know.
hybrid too, so you can attend, and maybe you could even get an overview.
okay,
If you're late to the committee, I'll have a little thing about in my general manager's report, but this way you can also chime in.
okay. Great, that's,
And we'll have you go first, so you can be in and out if you like.
oh, okay. All right,
So what do you think was, I think they moved them down here. The. Thing here goes. Just change that.
Yeah, I changed it for Friday the 13th.
No, it's-
Sort of Halloween type stuff. No Monster Mash though. As much as I like that song, let's see. Or I love it. It's
Okay,
dumb, but it's
so-
great.
Just the same Dr. Demento.
Oh, that's a long way off. All right,
I love the
so
Yellowstone.
that is fine, that date.
okay, the date's confirmed, that's good. Do we have any other bill? Do we have any other business you think we need? to-
No, I mean, it's great meeting you, and,
Yes, it's been a while.
yes, yeah, next time, the challenge names, I got Dan, Jonathan.
We got all the names written
I
down.
did- oh, yeah, no,
Let's call me Jonathan that way.
No, I will.
He's John and there's no confusion.
Yes.
I'm open to compromise.
And it's because, look,
That's the main
I
thing.
come over the area a lot, I love the Millstone.
Oh,
That's a cool place.
It's great, I when I go to the store, I know everything that's in there, maybe where they change something. So I love it, because, they make their own stuff, and
Oh,
they
no.
don't butcher, meat's amazing, and it's just a great.
It's a neat store.
So I always try to go. In the old days, they used to have, I remember the chicken salad, they had one that it said low carb, so eventually I said, what do you mean low carb? Is it sugar in the other one?
Oh.
They don't do it anymore,
Oh, geez.
but that's what they're, so I said, oh my god. So, but I love their, like, their chicken salad, all this. All right, and also I go a lot, I try to buy a lot, but I love as my daughter going with me. Parsons. But the deer, right, the deer.
I don't know which side.
It's on, well, Deerfield, the
It's
track.
right, it's.
It's right on the line, yeah, from here. So, so I get over the area. It was quite good. I used to like, they had this bakery that made amazing bread. They sold it also in the,
This is still getting recorded.
okay, I'm sorry.
I'm looking, I'm trying to close.
I wanna know what the bakery is.
So anyway, all I want to say is I love the area. I forgot. That's good. Thank you very much, Bill. And I look forward to working with you and get strong.
That's on the clip.
Entertain motion.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.